This is Platform Media International Political Arena. As African in diaspora in Canada, North America, there should be a system that benefits the Commonwealth of African nations. But there seems to be a confusion, or there seems to be a gap on how Africans can come together as a bloc. My friend in the studio, Jerry Badi, welcome to the program. You are vast in the mechanisms of Africans in here, how they can cooperate together. But Jerry, what is confusing to me is that what is beneficial for African development here? Is it collaborativeness or standing on their legs and have an umbrella body? What I mean by that is this, that if you go to the offices in Canada, for instance, you have Vietnam. There's Vietnamese language in some of the government organizations where it's interpreted. Filipino, Tagalog, there's a language called Tagalog in Philippines. Mm-hmm. It's part of the government structure. The only African language that is recognized is maybe Swahili, and they are beginning to recognize Igbo and Yoruba. Others are neglected. So my take, I'll be thinking about this, given the fact that just yesterday here you delivered a very, very copious and cogent presentation on how Africans should progress. Is it possible, is it beneficial for Africans to stand on their own or form a unified body?
Thank you, Joe. It's always my pleasure being here with you to discuss these issues that affect all of us. I think the best way we can do it, it is not a panacea, but it's one of the ways that we can do it to move forward, to be recognized, is if we have an umbrella organization that will represent the interest of Africans. That is, you can have your Yoruba organization. You can have your Liberian community organization, Sierra Leone organization, Uganda, whatever. But if there is a central body that all of us can go to, all of us have individual representatives that will go in there and discuss common interests that affect all of us Africans here, it'll be good for us. When it comes to national politics here, if an African gets up to say he's throwing his hat in the ring, what happens is he gets defeated at the polls. Because we as Africans who don't speak with one voice, we don't have one group that is powerful that the politicians can come to. Non-African politicians in the province can come to say, I come to lobby with you. Now, if you're coming to lobby with me for my vote, and we are a splinter group, we don't have a specific organization that all of us subscribe to, obviously, the same divide and rule issue persists.
Okay, I feel cheated, I feel insulted when government is addressing different nationalities. For instance, they say the Philippines, the Filipinos, the Vietnamese, then Africans. Africa is treated as one country. Africa is not a country. Africa is a continent of about 52 states, 52 countries, if I'm right. I think 54. So if Philippines is treated as a country, Africa should not be treated as a country because Africa constitutes about 54 nations. So that's what my fear. Because in government sectors now, in government offices, we have translations in Tagalog, which is a Filipino language, Vietnamese, we have Korean language, you have Mandarin and all that. But you find one representing Africa. They call Africa, when they mention Korea had mentioned this, and then they call Africa. Africa is not it's not a country.
Joe,
That's what I'm trying to see whether we can correct.
Joe, I agree with you on that. Africa is a continent, not a country. But remember, as a continent, many countries in Africa have their own political and colonial history, right? Some of them speak Spanish, some speak Portuguese, some speak English, some speak French. So we don't speak with one voice. We don't speak one language.
Europe does not speak with one. Does not have one single language.
But Europe has a parliament. The European Union, they have an organization called the European Union, and they have a European Parliament. We could do the same thing here. You can have your Nigeria organization, we have our Liberia organization, but if we have one organization that would be the umbrella organization that will have representatives from the various community organizations that all can subscribe to the aims and objective of that organization, it will be good for us. If you're talking about language, you're talking about translation, that organization can look within its ranks and say, oh, there's a person here that speaks Yoruba. There's a person here that speaks Creole from Sierra Leone.
Yeah.
There's a person here that speaks French. There's a person here that speaks Swahili. Now, if we have such an umbrella organization, many of our dealings with the national government or the provincial government can be channeled through that body. Remember, there's ECOWAS and there's ECOWAS Parliament. ECOWAS is the Economic Community of West African States, but they have a parliament which is in Abuja. Now, that parliament has representatives from the different member states.
Yes.
If we can have similar thing here, if Justin Trudeau comes, he's not just going to jump up and say, Africa as a one country. Justin Trudeau is going to come if they talk to the leadership of that particular organization, representatives from those other.
So what you're saying, there should be an umbrella body that coordinates what we call the collaboration of African countries.
Yes, there may be seat for each community organization in that body
to form a body. Perhaps what we are saying now, Gary, perhaps we are talking about the fact that our history here is not long enough. Maybe like the Indians and Chinese, our history is not long enough, because by the time I fear the fact that by the time we form an umbrella body, they'll still be looking at us as Africans rather than Nigeria, Liberia, and all that. We should be careful about that. But what do you think?
Okay. In the formative stage,
we are Africans, but we need to be recognized in the different nationalities where we come from. That's what my issue is.
That is okay. That is fine.
Yes.
Each organization, like we have OAU.
Yes.
Right? Does OAU, is it treated as one country?
No,
it's treated as an organization that represents the entire African body, right?
Yes.
That comprises different countries within Africa.
Yes.
If we do similar thing here, have an umbrella organization, and there are clearly defined information, clearly defined goals, people will begin to understand.
Yes. I attend a church where we have an international brunch, which I find very insulting. It's a Catholic church. I attend a Catholic church. We have booths for Dutch, Germans, Singaporeans, Chinese, Filipinos, Vietnamese, and then they have a booth for Africa.
Yeah.
And I question that. It's painful for us. So as big as Nigeria is, as big as Sudan is, as big as Algeria is, no, I don't know why this is so. Maybe because our history is short.
Yeah, your history is short.
Okay.
When I came here, the first African that I met here, and it was by coincidence, was Bob Sisi. We went to look for work. And when I saw him, I jumped on him. Because at that time, I'm talking 95, 96, to see a black person, an African, in the street, on the train, it was near to impossible. You see, so the community, I mean, the Canadian society began to treat us as one. Right?
Because
One
we are so
person.
few.
Because we're so few.
Okay,
But
got it.
at times,
Go.
we started expanding.
Okay.
If you look at the Liberian community now, it's getting bigger and bigger every day. Along with the children that we are having here, and those who are joining us, the number is getting big. Nigeria, for example, you guys have so many organizations. You got Yoruba, you got
Edo, you have
you got
Igbo Association.
okay. So now, because we are expanding, we are getting bigger, we are becoming an economic force, social economic force to contend with. There are a lot of African shops now that are run by Nigerians and Ghanaians,
Yes,
right?
and we now begin to have African and African representative in government.
Okay.
There's,
So if it's just the messaging from us will make them to know that we are not just one group of people,
but
we are a continent.
yes,
A continent that consists of different countries, different nationalities, different languages, different history and backgrounds. We are not just one group of people that you just.
we're not just Africa. Africa is not
a
a country. That's
it's
right.
a continent. So that the Richmond Nations Cup that brings together teams
From different nations.
Different nations. There is Italy, there is Ireland, there is England, there is Canada.
France.
No, I mean I
Okay.
haven't seen the French team
It's
there, but
yeah.
you got different international. It's like a World Cup here.
So
Africa only has one slot.
That's
there.
what I mean.
But if you see, because it has only one slot, and we are treated as Africa,
Yes.
it's left with us now.
Africa is now contending with different countries from Europe.
And we have so many players. Africa, here in this province of
Yeah.
BC,
So we can
have so
even-
many players. Our players, because they cannot fit in the African team,
We go and form another country.
they spread around to various communities and play for
Different countries.
yeah, and
Which
they
is
end
unfair.
up beating us too. They play against their own Africa because there is no space for them to play.
And that should be corrected.
We are working on it.
We have to correct that.
The more we play, the more we show ourselves, the more we keep making noise, they will understand.
Making useful noise is better in
Exactly.
this direction.
Yeah.
Thank you. For our viewers across who are watching, this is a topic, this is an issue that if you're an African, you should begin to think about how we can project our image. And not Africa should be treated like a country. Africa is never a country. Africa is a continent comprising of about 54
countries,
nations.
I think so.
So if Vietnam, Singapore, China is treated as a country, don't treat Africa as a country. Nigeria is one, Liberia is two, South Africa is three, Namibia, Ivory Coast, those are different countries. And I hope those of you who are Africans are listening. Let's fortify our different nationalities. Let's make it stronger so that people will begin to recognize us for who we are. And that's our take this evening. Jerry, thank you for coming to the program, to the studio for this. And for our viewers across the globe, keep watching us. This is Platform Media International Political Arena. This is Joe Hizuda signing off. Have a good night. Bye-bye.
Thank you, Joe.